I was 29 years old, lost, desperate. I didn't know who I was.
And I mean, I just spiraled down. You know, it was something to watch over about 20 years.
I had gone down so far and just lost touch that I couldn't figure out how to get back up.
What I did know is when I looked in the mirror, I hated who was looking back at me.
You know, I had come to the end of my road, you know, in active addiction, drug addiction, chronic homelessness, medical issues.
I just drank all the time, every day, from the time I got up until the time I went to sleep.
You know, had no job, no income, and virtually no hope.
I actually was in a point where I was happier if I was in jail or in a mental institution.
It takes a village to assist in the healing that God has for every human being that walks through these doors.
Charlotte Rescue Mission has the chance to take men and women that are in crisis due to an addiction to drugs and alcohol. Whether they're homeless, doubling up on somebody else's couch, or wandering the streets, we can take that individual, share the hope of God that's found in Jesus Christ, build a foundation of long-term sobriety by providing professional services to the folks that we serve, and ultimately returning them as contributing members to society. We provide professionally trained, clinically trained substance abuse counselors that provide a level of services that rivals a Betty Ford Center. The only difference between us and a Betty Ford Center is we work with the poor, the destitute, the disenfranchised. Folks that would never get the quality of services except that through the generous support of our donors, Charlotte Rescue Mission is able to provide these services and work to change a person's life from the inside out.
People spend tens of thousands of dollars on 28-day programs, and they go to some of the finest facilities in all of the nation. This program is not only wonderful and keeps women off addictions, but the facility itself is as fine or better than any of those facilities all throughout the country. The beauty of this program is, though, first of all, it's free. Secondly, it works and goes beyond just 28 days.
I was admitted here in 2003, and it saved my life. I wouldn't be sitting here in front of you today if it wasn't for the Dove's Nest program. I believe that. I know that in my heart.
I let go. I really did. You know, I started to believe, you know, in what the council said. I started to believe in the program. You know, that uncertainty, you know, was always there in my life. You know, what's next, you know?
While I was here, you know, there was volunteers that come in, there was people here that helped me, and it was kind of just to see the grace of God working in their life, transferring into my life, that enabled me to see that I wanted to do something different.
Something else people ought to know is the national average for programs trying to help men, but especially women caught in addiction, especially even homeless women caught in addiction. The recidivism rate something like 20%. They only help 20%, 80% return to their old habits. The national average for Dove's Nest program is 80%. 80% stay away from drugs for the rest of their lives.
What I do know, I know I got another relapse left in me. All recovering addicts and alcoholics have a relapse left in them. But what I don't know is if I have another recovery. And that's what scares me. And that's why I stay vigilant towards my program of recovery and my relationship with God.
And I think it's because the women not only have the techniques necessary to discipline themselves, but they learn that their identity is in Christ. They learn that their identity is not in a man, not in their rejection, not in the addiction. Their identity is in Christ. And when they discover that and learn that, and it gets drilled way down deep into their soul, they realize they don't need the substance to feel good about themselves. They know they are loved and accepted by God in Christ, and that's what sets them free.
Between what I've gotten from coming to the rebound program, the Charlotte Rescue Missions office, and God is, relationship I've established with God, and my recovery, that now I'm in a place, in a space where I like me more. I'm able to live with me more and have fun with me again.
I saw this and I believed this, and that got me started. It said, God can mend a broken heart, but he has to have all the pieces. And I feel like in my life that God just, when everything started happening a week at a time, all those pieces just started falling right back into place. And I just thank God, that I'm alive today.
If I were to pick up today, I would be right where I was left off, or maybe even worse.
Dove's Nest allowed me to feel whole again. I felt loved for the first time in so long. I felt worthy of a life full of abundance. And I felt the voice of truth. Not only did I hear it, but I felt it. And this became home.
Dove's Nest and Charlotte Rescue Mission gave me a life worth living.
I had a little bit of hope, and I held on to that hope, And coming through the program, I found a relationship with God.
Charlotte Rescue Mission is incredibly unique. I've been working with the poor and the homeless since 1981. We could take counselors that are clinically trained in substance abuse counseling, licensed clinical addiction specialists, certified substance abuse counselors with the credentials from the state of North Carolina and a calling to full-time Christian service, and not compartmentalize it, but meld it together in such a way that we present the hope of Christ while addressing those core issues of addiction and moving them into what I call an authentic personal relationship to God through Christ.
And to see the girls come in all broken, and it's like you look in their eyes and there isn't any light in there. It's just kind of vague. And then as they progress through different phases of the program, plus Lord Heal My Hurts, you see that light coming on, you start to see that hope come back.
But we're asking them to take what we're teaching them and live it out in such a way that when they get into a bad situation, when a former husband says to them, would you like to do prescription drugs? The graduate of our Dove's Nest division says, stop the car, I'm getting out.
I've seen men and women both come through the ministry, and it is a ministry. It's a mission, but it's a ministry. And for the Spirit of God to change their lives radically. And they wanted to all along and could not. They could not. Some of them had been in treatment for 2, 3, 4, and 5 times and still could not do it. And the power of God is what helped them do it.
And I think the scriptures reinforce, it's an added addition to treatment that the secular world doesn't incorporate at all.
I want you to be able to walk into any business in Charlotte, any corporation in Charlotte, and never know whether the receptionist or the person who was behind the desk was an average Joe like you and I, or was a graduate of the Charlotte Rescue Mission.
I would encourage anybody to take a hard look at it and see where your money could best be used, your time could best be used, and if God is leading here, take advantage of that.
And in partnership with Charlotte Rescue Mission, we can end this problem. My prayer is that one day my admissions line, both at our Rebound Men's Division and Dove's Nest Division, stops ringing. And my admission counselors come to me and say, we don't know how to tell you, but we worked so hard for so many years. that nobody needs our services, and we'll sell the real estate and move on to the next chapter of our life.